Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Hello, Weirdsville. How is everyone out there? I hope you're doing well. I'm Barry Johnston. I'm your host, one of your hosts of this crazy, weird podcast called What's Your Weird Story? With me, as always, is my best friend, Mr. Adam Beebe. How are you, Adam?
You know, Barry, besides choking on my own spit,
yes,
before we started talking here and recording, besides that, and kind of messing up my throat, my voice here. Besides that, I'm okay. You know, I mean, you know, it's we're starting to feel the early spring around here for sure. The weather is definitely warmed up. Yes. You know, it's cool, and it's getting into more towards the sweater weather than less of the winter weather, which is, you know, nice. The sun's come out, you know, and it's crazy, man. Last week it was, you know, one day it was snowing all day, right? You know, I mean, just flurries all day. Nothing really stuck to the ground. And then, like 2 days later, it's like super sunny and bright, and everything's blue, and everything's starting to like decide like to wake up in nature. Right. So
it's been a weird winter because it never really got cold here. And I know it never really got like super cold where you're at. I mean, we had cold mornings and stuff, but it was never we never had like a real deep freeze, you know, for like more than a couple of days at a time. So I think a lot of the stuff never really died off. And so, you know, I own a lawn care business, so, you know, I'm out in the sun, and so this time of year it's crazy, but it seems like everything is a little bit, you know, we're about 3 weeks ahead of where we were last year, you know, to where everything's blooming and it's out of control, man. So yeah, just trying to keep up.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, like, you know, like today I had my first day where I could feel pollen in the air, you know, I mean, cause like I've got the, you know, my allergies are so perceptive that, I can feel the pressure, and I can feel the, you know, I was going, oh, it's happening. And I knew, and I checked, and sure enough, it was a medium to high day. It hasn't been like that before. So, but, you know, hey, you know, but that's good. That's spring. That means it's going to start getting,
that means the coronavirus is just around the corner. Yeah. We're all going to die soon. But, you know, other than that, it's springtime.
You know, we don't want to start a panic. There's enough of that going around. But do take care, take your notes, and find out how to, you know, remember, wash your hands and all that good stuff.
It's a good time of year, though. I mean, besides coronavirus, it's a good time of year. No, I hate the summer. I just do. It's too hot for me. I hate it. You know.
If it was cold all the time or cool all the time, you wouldn't appreciate it.
That's right.
Is this what you didn't get a little bit of that hot or that rain or whatever weather you don't like?
That's right.
You didn't get the opposite. You appreciate it as much.
That's right.
I guess. I don't know. So anyway.
Yeah. So
enough about the
weather. We've talked the weather into the ground.
So anyway, let's talk about our guest.
Yeah, let's talk about our guest, Miss Bethany.
Bethany called us, and we found Bethany on Facebook, and she is from the more western area of North Carolina, in a small town close to, I think she said close to Winston-Salem. She names it, she says, when she's telling her story, and she's got some cool stories from there in her little town, and she's a young listener. She's just out of high school a couple of years, and she is got ambitions, and she's going to be traveling the world, and she's got all sorts of journeys ahead of her, but she's taking time to share some of her weird experiences that she's had.
But yeah, so let's get over to Bethany. Hey, Bethany, What's your weird story?
All right. Well, the first one I like to tell is the time that I saw this lanky creature on top of my parents' barn. So we live in sort of the middle of nowhere in the town of Mocksville in North Carolina. And we live on a farm. We have one big white barn in the very back of our house. And then we have 2 back pastures. And this was when I was in the 8th grade. I was going on a little bit of like a weight loss journey. I wanted to take care of myself. I started running. And so we have this really tall hill that is really good for, strengthening your calves, your legs, things like that. Mm-hmm. So every morning I would go run up and down that hill. And this particular morning I woke up extra early. I got to exercise before school. And I'm trying to think when it happened. This must have been in January. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say January of 2015, 16. Okay. But anyways, it was just a normal morning. I went out the back door, and as I'm walking towards our back pasture, I noticed that the barn light is on. And our parents never leave the barn light on. It's always off unless you need to go in there, and they rarely leave it on by accident. So anyway, so that struck me as odd, sort of like gave me like a little bit of a red flag. But I kept going. I went to go turn it off, and I felt really strange. It's one of those strange feelings where you feel like, should I really be in here right now? Mm-hmm. Like, I hope that makes sense. But yeah.
I've had that feeling.
Yeah. You're on guard. Your hackles are up.
Oh yeah. And anyways, as I was leaving the barn, I felt like I should back away, and I felt really cold, and it was a cold, like, okay, so it wasn't like outside of me, like I felt cold internally. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like I could just feel the cold coming from me, and I was shivering. I decided to go back in, because it was too cold to get my hoodie. As I was going back, I turned around. Something told me that I needed to turn around within me, so I turned around and I look up, and there is this tall, lanky creature on top of my barn, and it let out like this ungodly screech. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, I posted about it on Facebook after it happened and after I woke my parents up, but we'll get to that. And as soon as I heard that screech, you bet I was running. I was running in the house. I woke my parents up, and I know not to wake my parents up in the morning because they're not morning people. They don't like to be woken up. But I told my parents, and my dad went out there with a flashlight, and he couldn't see anything. And rest assured, I did not go out there again. Like it was terrifying. And
to steal a line from my co-host, did it have a discernible shape?
Oh yeah, it was tall and it was lanky. I don't want to say alien because I don't want anyone to seem like I'm crazy, but
hey, listen, man.
I believe in aliens. I do.
Okay,
but.
I'm just we're open books here, dude.
Yeah, no judgment here. We we know we have had all kinds of stories. And we're open to the world is a big and mysterious place, and we're silly little creatures who think we know everything, but we aren't, and we're just we're just as much of bugs on this planet as ants are. So
yeah, definitely agree with that. And it was just like every time like my friends or I'm at like my friend's house and they're having a gathering or something, I'll tell that story and people will be like, no way. And then like I had friends come over the other month ago, about 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. And I showed them where it happened, and they even said themselves that they don't like being around the barn. Right. And I don't know what it is, because this house was built in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there was any sort of like events that happened here.
And this thing was on the roof, you said? It was on the roof?
It was on the roof. Like, I don't know how something would get up there. And it definitely wasn't one of those, like, the things that turn on the top of the barn.
Yeah, the weather vane.
Yeah, it definitely was not one of that, because this was easily discernible.
Yeah.
Was it, how big was it, do you think?
I'm going to say from my memory, about 7 feet. It was tall.
Okay.
It was taller than my brother because it was pretty big.
And was it hairy, or was it like?
No, it was just. I couldn't distinguish any hair. It was just like the outline of a skinny man.
Oh,
wow. Okay. Now, could you see any color, or was it just a silhouette? Was it just dark?
It was just a silhouette. I mean, I was relying on the moonlight and the floodlights on the back of my house to see. But yeah,
so
that's all I can see.
Could have been a shadow person. We've heard lots of stories about those, and then they have all sorts of different patterns of behavior. But I don't know. It's wild because you get the howl, the cry or shriek. I guess it would be.
Yeah, it sounded like if you could picture what a banshee sounds like, that's sort of what it sounded like.
Wow.
It was blood curdling.
Wow.
That is intense.
And no one else had ever complained about something or anything weird?
No, but my parents, when we first moved into this house, my parents did have an experience. So my parents, they smoke. They were outside, and they don't smoke anymore. But my dad does. But anyways, they were sitting outside late at night, and so we have a farmer's field right in front of us, and then back towards that, there's woods. There's a wooded area, and they heard like this. I didn't hear it, but they heard it. They came in because they were so scared, and they said that they heard a sort of like a roar, but it started out really low, they said, and then it progressed to a higher volume and a higher sound. Like I had never heard it, so that's all they told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's something living around the house back there.
Yeah, my dad, he was like, it's Bigfoot. But I don't know.
Funny enough, Adam sent me a story from around his neck of the woods. Yeah. These guys were apparently on the trail of Bigfoot, and the screams that this thing was letting out, man, was just weird. It was blood curdling, like you said, kind of like very discerning, very odd.
Yeah, and if it was a tall and thin, it could have been like, maybe it was a young Bigfoot, like a teenager or something around your age at the time. It could have been an adolescent. That's what I was thinking of. Bigfoot. I mean, as far as just coming up, grabbing at ideas of things it could be. It could have been a shadow person. It could have been a Bigfoot. If it sounds like. You're like your dad said, or your parents both described, this kind of roar thing coming from the wooded area. I mean, that seems to go along with it, some kind of more of a cryptid than a supernatural thing. But I guess it can't be. So
I did a little bit of research, and the only thing that I thought that it could be, maybe I was thinking, have you ever heard of the rake?
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking that it could be something like that because it was skinny, tall. So anything, like you said, it could be a cryptid. I think that would be any cryptid that's tall and skinny.
Yeah, the rake is another kind of cryptid, and that's one of the things that it's known as. Like it's tall and skinny, and it can like hide and contort its body into weird ways and all sorts of things. So it's a weird thing. I'll have to do a little bit more research to explain it to our friends at home.
I don't know what a rake is. I've heard of the name, but never knew what it was. I've learned something.
Type in the rake and go to Google Images.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a freaky thing. So, and it's one of those that seem to be borderline of the supernatural world as far as because paranormal doesn't necessarily like Bigfoot and cryptids they can be paranormal, which is just to say. Outside of our normal understanding, outside of science, recorded science and stuff like that. but supernatural is the stuff that we, assign to afterlife and magic and, ghosts and demons and spooky stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
There's been a lot of crazy experiences around my house.
I'm looking at the rake. Wow, that is a creepy looking thing, man. Ooh. This thing, they have a picture of one, that's like crawling on the ground, sort of looking up. Oh man, eyes are glowing. Yikes! Wow, that's crazy, man. I guess that lore goes back a long way, man. 1600s, it says something like that. That's pretty cool. Learn something new.
If you it's for people who are, I don't know, I guess another way to just kind of describe it is like it's kind of a humanoid looking thing. If you've heard descriptions of the Slender Man, it has a similar build
That's what I was gonna say,
as the Slender Man. But though we know Slender Man is a fabricated urban legend, we can creepypasta. So it's fake. We can trace it back to its origin, which is really cool. But that still doesn't, people see things that they are, maybe they're seeing rakes, maybe they're somehow manifesting Slender Man, or who knows? I don't know. But do you know if there's been any kind of other sightings like that in the area? Or Bigfoot sightings or something?
Not too far from my house, there is actually, I think it might be almost like a 45-minute drive. I have no idea where it is, but I know that there have been a lot of Bigfoot sightings around this area. They have, which there is a like a fake Bigfoot thing made out of wood that somebody set in front of their house. So I have no idea if it's that or if it is actual Bigfoot encounters or sightings. But I have to look it up where, but it's somewhere near my house.
Well, yeah, I do know that at that part of the state, as you get more west in North Carolina, that's where you'll find more of, it gets more trees and more mountains and stuff.
Yes.
To where you'll find, more of the Bigfoot type sightings. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's
is that the Smoky Mountains? Is that right?
Appalachian.
Yeah.
Appalachian.
Gotcha.
Appalachian Mountains, I have had an experience with, I think, a ghostly figure. Do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah.
Please.
We'll move on to
this
that.
Just stayed my mind.
If we're wrapped up with the rake, we'll move on to the your mountain story. So.
Okay. Let me think. Okay, so this happened on my 16th birthday. I love going to mountains. The mountains feel like home to me. So I asked her if we could go on a mountain drive for my 16th birthday during peak season, because I'm born in October in the fall time. And
peak leaf change time?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And
it's gorgeous out there, man.
That, dude.
Oh, yeah, it is. I got some really good photos.
I used to do a lot of drugs and go up into the mountains during peak season. I have my own peak, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, kids. Public service announcement.
Please don't do drugs.
Oh, that's funny. But trying to think. Sorry, I have ADHD. My mind, I always dissociate. So this happened towards when we were leaving. My mom wanted to watch the sunset. So there's this area. It's on the Blue Ridge Parkway, because that's where we were on. And there's this area that has a picnic table, and it's got like a tiny bit of a larger grass area around it, and then it has woods all around it. And there's this. I know that there's one sort of like landmark you can use to distinguish where you are. It's like this tall tree, and it's sort of dead. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where it is. But anyways, so we were basically just sitting down. Everything was all right. We're watching the sunset. Me and my mom packed a little bit of a picnic, and we went out. Well, I did, at least. Because at the time I was learning botany, and I wanted to go collect like herbs and things that I could use to study, because I'm a nerd. And And so, okay, so the way I can only describe it is there's this large opening, and there's a bunch of trees, and it goes downhill, and then down there's a little small stream. And anyways, that's where I was going, downhill, far away from where my mom was, like an idiot, just going off, and the sun was going down. And as I am approaching this one tree, I look down past this drop off, and there is this woman in white. I don't know if there's been, I don't know if it was a ghost or if it was like a YouTuber or something out there. I don't know. But there was a woman in a white dress, which struck me as pretty odd. And as soon as I saw that, I'm trying to think how I felt. It was sort of like sadness, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like I felt sad, and I didn't know where it was coming from, if it was me or if it was her, I don't know. But the air started to feel cold, and I just didn't want to be there anymore. So I basically just went back up the hill, speed walking, because I was pretty much kind of scared of what was down there. I went to tell my mom, and she didn't believe that it was like a ghost, because she's kind of skeptical about that kind of stuff. And but she said, well, maybe it was just a person walking. And so I went back down there like an idiot, and I didn't see anybody down there. I didn't see any traces of like footprints. I didn't see anything left behind by the person. It was just like the person was just gone. And
it would be odd that a person's wearing a dress in the fall. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
that's
a white, especially a white dress after Labor Day.
Right.
I mean, come on.
That used to be a rule when we were younger. Yeah. I don't know if it still is or not, but man, pulling out your fashion prowess there. Nice. Yeah, that is odd. That is very odd.
Yeah.
How long ago was this? Did you say?
This is on my 16th birthday.
So it was just not too. It was not much longer.
Yeah, this is 2016.
Okay.
Wow.
Or 2015.
What? How clearly could you? Pardon me, I just got hit by a yawn. How clearly could you see the woman? Like, could you see?
She wasn't like transparent. She was pretty like okay. Okay, so you know how you see me? She was like me, but I guess more blurry or smudged out. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
How far away were you from her?
I'm going to say 50 to 75 yards ish.
Oh, wow.
That's
relatively close, though. So
yeah. Wow. It was pretty scary. I mean, the dress was just like normal white dress. It wasn't like flowing or anything like you see in a movie. It was just, draped behind her.
But she was out of focus.
Yeah, she was sort of out of focus. She didn't see me. She didn't look at me. She basically just kept going on her way as if I was not even there. I mean, I was above her, so I don't think she was
moving down a path by herself.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Wow. That sounds very odd.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that she's blurry there immediately is very... That's just... automatically puts it outside of the norm of like the world of like that's just a lady in a white dress. There's something more to it than that.
It scared me. Like I don't scare easily. Yeah. I just don't. Like I'm a pretty brave person, and that even scared me. I mean, not enough because I went back to look, but you know.
Dang.
Well, you said that it gave you that it kind of you felt sadness and you felt like you were. You empathically picked something up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know how like just as an example, how in Harry Potter, how the Dementors, basically like when they're around, it feels as if there's all the happiness in the world just got sucked out. That's how I felt. It just it was the oddest feeling. Like I was fine. I was having a good day, just looking for things, and all of a sudden it was almost as if I stepped into like this this energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact-
I attract weird things.
It sounds like it. I was going to ask.
So many stories.
I was going to ask
good,
you,
yeah.
if that was something that has been with you your whole life, is this kind of weird stuff happening.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because there's a lot of people that share stories that it doesn't. Most of the time, you can't really. I guess you can't really say it, but most of the time, when people have these types of interactions, it's been with them for a long time. It didn't. It doesn't often just start happening one day, especially when you get to be an adult.
Yeah, like, because when I was little, I've had tons of paranormal experiences, at least what I can call as paranormal. I mean, I've always, I guess, I've always felt like I've been a magnet for those kinds of things.
Sure.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. You probably knew that already because you're listening or downloaded to the episode off of your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever place you get your podcast from. We want to thank you for listening. We also want to remind you to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, make sure that you get your new podcast episode every week. We'd also like to ask you to rate and review so that we can grow our audience, we can have more friends, we can have more stories. So thanks for listening to What's Your Weird Story.
At what age did you start having these experiences?
I'm gonna say about 7 years old, 6 to 7 years old. This was when I was little. I was probably 6 or 7. My parents had put me to bed, and I don't think that this was sleep paralysis because I can move. I could easily
Oh, you
move.
could move. Well, then that's not it. For sure.
And like, that's what a lot of people say it is, oh, you had sleep paralysis. No, I didn't. I could move and I could speak. But anyway, so it was dark. The lights was off. My grandparents were over. My parents were about to say goodbye to them. And it's pretty dark. It's quiet. You can't see anything in my room except for what is illuminated by my nightlight. And I start hearing sort of like a shuffling, and it sounds like something is going through my things. It sounds like something is, because I used to have this little tiny desk that had like I call it like my doohickey tray, because it was just a tray full of just things that I liked, and I found around my room that had no purpose, and I just stuck them there, and it sounds like something is going through that. And I'm looking around, and then my heart like drops and I can't move because I'm so scared. I see sort of like, okay, it was probably as tall as me. It was very short, and it was just going through my things. I could only see the height. I couldn't see any distinguishable features. All I could see was the height and its color, which was just black because of the lighting.
Was this the same home? Was this the same home that you experienced the thing at the barn?
No, this is when we lived in Florida, actually. We lived in Ocala, Florida.
Sure.
And this was trying to think. We had just moved in too. I think about a few months after we moved in, and because I finally got a room by myself, I was excited to have it. And but anyways, this creature started moving around, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should scream, if I would anger it, because I didn't want it to hear or see that I'm awake, because I'm scared that it's gonna hurt me. And so I sort of think in my 7-year-old mind that, well, if I act like I don't see it and I cry like I had a bad dream, then it won't think that I saw it. My little kid mind just thought that was the best thing to do. I basically start screaming and crying, saying, "Mom, Dad, I had a bad dream. I had a bad dream," till they came in. And then as I'm screaming, I kid you not, I hear this creature say, "Shh, shh," like that, over and over and over again. And it just kept shushing me as I'm crying and screaming.
Oh, I just got the chills.
And it comes, by the way, at this moment, it's right next to my bed. Yeah. It's right next to my bed, and I get up and I curl against the wall, and I'm just screaming and crying. And then my parents come in the room, and they turn the light on, and everything's just fine. It disappeared. It's not there anymore.
God.
Wow.
Yeah. It was terrifying.
Dang.
At least.
That's definitely not sleep paralysis, because generally when people suffer sleep paralysis, if you've ever had it, that's when you wake up and you can't move your body. Basically, your brain wakes up a little bit before your body can start going, and in that state, you can sometimes have hallucinations where you think that there's something like sitting on your chest. And it used to be, like back in the day, people thought it was like, goblins or witches that were, enchanting you. And then sometimes more recently in the past, like century or so, it altered to where some people felt like they were being surrounded by aliens. Mm-hmm. But again, the underlying fact through all of that is that you can't move. Mm-hmm. And but if you can move, and also it's not a very long thing, but if you can move, that's definitely not it, because your body's not a lot, it doesn't move. I mean, that's one of the main things. Sleep paralysis is like,
yeah, and my parents said that they thought that I had a bad dream, and like even like today, I'll still bring that up when we're talking about weird experiences that we've had. I always bring that up, and we were watching. I know before bed we were watching like this movie about like ninjas. And one thing that I need to point out is I had lost my tooth that night. I completely forgot. Okay. I completely forgot to give you that detail. So I lost my tooth that night.
Did you put your tooth in the doohickey drawer? I mean, is this the tooth fairy or what?
It was right under my pillow, and my mom put it in a plastic baggie.
God.
Yeah. And so we're watching this ninja movie, and my parents, the way I described it, my parents said that I had a dream about like midget ninjas.
Right.
That's what they said it was. That's what they said it was.
That's great.
I don't know, man.
But
I love me a good ninja movie.
Now I do too. But this doesn't sound like the ninjas that I know. So.
No.
Yeah. But I can't believe I left out that detail.
Yeah, that's to me. That's like I don't know. Maybe it's not a correlation. Maybe there's nothing related to it. But
exactly,
it's just a weird thing, because it sounds like whatever it was looking for something, and and the tooth fairy is not. It's Barry, earmuffs.
Yes.
The tooth fairy is not real.
Oh man.
I heard that. Sorry.
Damn it.
But that's another made up thing for the kids. But it still sounds like it's an odd coincidence that something's rummaging around and looking for something when you lost a tooth.
Yeah, I mean, with the tooth fairy, they're like, I used to like, cause when I first got my iPad, when I was in the 6th grade, I loved to research urban legends and cryptids and folklore, things like that. And the only thing I do know about the tooth fairy as far as lore goes is that the tooth fairy, I think, these creatures used to kidnap children, I think, and they would give their tooth as an offering, if that makes sense. I have no idea if that's true or not.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those.
Oh, yeah.
European.
With fairies, and fairy folk, and all that stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, gnomes and mushrooms. Mushrooms goes way, 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 way back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Wow. So that's young to be having something like that happen. So freaky like that.
That's the story that I think is the farthest back that I've ever experienced.
I'll tell you what, I would have probably wet the bed had that happen.
No kidding. No kidding, man. I've been scared, when I was a kid. I can remember being scared. Thank God I never saw anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember being scared at your house too, Barry.
Yeah.
You were lived out in the country. Although, really, when you think about it, your house was probably less scary than the one I grew up in, the big white house with the basement and attic and everything else.
And oddly enough, my great grandfather used to live in that house that Adam lived in, and there was just there was a weird feeling there, dude. There was, and I don't know. I maybe was too young to really understand it, but I would get a little bit creeped out, man, when I go into that basement.
Okay, well, the back room, but I think that's because it was off limits, because that's where my dad stored all of the Christmas presents that we weren't supposed to know about as kids. But oh dang, man, that's cool. Well, what else have you got for it? That's fantastic. Both of these, all really. 3 of these have been fantastic stories. So yeah, what else you got? What else you got? I'm rubbing my hands.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. I do have a hiking story that I can tell you about.
Okay,
cool.
Okay, so this was when I first started homeschooling. I loved to go hiking after I was done with my classes and things like that. My mom took me hiking. She basically just parked in the car. She's like, okay, just come back when you're done. So this yeah, my mom, she does not like hiking. She basically just dropped me off and went to go like get a sandwich or something.
That's great though. Hey man, good.
That's cool. That's kind of how we grew up.
Yeah, kids need more of that. Be home when it's dark, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But this happened at Rich Park in Moxville. It's just like this little, there's a lot of like playground areas, but there's also a lot of hiking trails you can go down. And I love to explore. I'm an adventurer. I love to go off and do my own thing off the path, you know? And so I decided to walk off the path onto this little path that went up this sort of like large hill, and everything's fine. I'm enjoying. I'm taking pictures. It's beautiful out. By the way, this is in the fall time too, and I just keep going. As I'm walking, the playgrounds and the roads and the paths start disappearing from me. So I keep going to this little bench. I sit down. I'm just taking in the beautiful scenery. And as I'm walking, after I'm done sitting down, I go sort of, I think this must have been a property, but I have no idea, because it basically all just blended in together. So as I'm walking, I notice up this hill, there is this hammock that is strung between 2 trees. And I didn't think at first, because I was probably like 16, 17 at the time. And I'm just walking, and I start, as I'm getting closer to the hammock, I notice there's someone in it. And my first thought is homeless man. So I see it, and I'm like, what is that? And so I get a tiny bit closer just because I want to see like who it is, what it is, because I'm an idiot. And I see it, and I immediately, because I saw like the person and the beanbag and the hammock started moving. So I basically start walking back really fast up the hills, and I go back to my car and tell my mom everything that happened. And she was like, oh, I'm glad you came back. But yeah, it was pretty scary. I think that everything's scary, but still, like, I don't know what happened. I mean, I was just a 17-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, just out in the middle of the woods somewhere. Didn't know where it was. I basically like just marked a trail by looking at the trees.
Right.
You know.
Would people camp out there?
I'm smart.
Is that a camping?
I have no idea. No idea. It could have been a camper, but I mean, it was the middle of the day. This person was just sleeping in like this hammock.
Right.
I don't know.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. I mean, it had like, there was like debris on the ground, like tin cans and things like that.
Could have been a hobo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Riding the rails. Or what do they call them? Oogles, which are the punk rockers who.
Oh yeah.
Kind of hobo punk rockers,
train hop
gutter
and all
punks,
that. Yeah.
Train hopper and gutter punks. Yeah.
Right.
So.
That's crazy.
That's wild. That's still a unusual thing to wander up on. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
It scared me, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I and rightly so, I think so.
Yeah, because I've never experienced like coming across someone like that before.
Yeah.
It was enlightening. I probably next time I go camping or hiking, I need to pay attention to my surroundings a lot better, because I didn't see the guy until I got pretty close to him.
Yeah.
Mm.
I didn't even see him.
I mean, those things can blend in pretty well too, you know?
Yeah.
Those Usually there'll be a earth tone, those hammocks and stuff. So yeah, no telling. Crazy.
And the girl, the babysitter girl, she picked up the phone, and there was a policeman on the other side, and he said, "We've tracked the phone call, and it's coming from inside the house."
Whoa.
Yeah, dude.
I love those urban legend stories.
Dude, I do too. And you remember the one where the girl, it's always the babysitter or it's the kids making out in Lover's Lane, but there's the one where the girl comes up and she finds the kids are watching TV and she turns them around and their face has SpaghettiOs.
Oh, man. Or the hook guy. Remember the hook guy?
The hook was hanging from the rear view mirror. Yeah. So if you got a story that is similar to any of those awesome urban legends, we want to hear it. Because, those urban legends, man, they started off as somebody's true life weird story. It's got to be true somewhere.
That's all I think I really have. I mean, I do have a few. I don't know if they're going to take too long, though.
That's all right.
Okay, my life is just a string of crazy ass experiences.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, so have you ever played Bloody Mary?
Oh,
it's pretty classic.
This is one of my favorite things. I've fallen off asking people about Bloody Mary, but this is one of my favorite things to ask people because I was always way too chicken to play Bloody Mary.
I'm the complete opposite. I would be the one to volunteer. I'd be like, "Hey guys, do you want to play Bloody Mary?" And they'd be like, no, I don't want to play that. But I'd always be the one in the bathroom with the candle.
Okay, so how did you... Yeah, let's get this down here. What was the ritual? We are finding that there's a little difference everywhere we go with this, depending on where you're from. So what was your Bloody Mary thing, your ritual?
Okay, so this was when I was 17. I stayed over at my aunt's house, and the ritual was so basically I had a candle, and I go into the bathroom with the lights off, and I spin around 3 times, and I while reciting Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And I think there was something else I said, but I have no idea. It's been a while. Uh-huh. But then I turned the lights back on with the door shut, and that was basically the ritual.
Okay.
That's very similar to the ritual that I knew of was you didn't have a candle. It was is pitch black. Yeah. And you would go in there and you would stare into the mirror, you and your friends, and you would all chant Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary 3 times.
Yeah, that's the one I grew up with.
And then she would appear. You didn't turn the lights on. Something would appear in the mirror. Of course, that was all what made it so scary is that you whether you saw something or not, your mind would trick your little kid brain into, you'd freak out, basically. Yeah. Even if nothing happened, you still freaked out because it was a heightened, excitement of the whole thing. So... But yeah, that's really cool. But that's the first time I've heard somebody say you flipped on the light to see. So did it work? Did you ever see anything?
I did. Okay, so in this particular time, this is the last time I will ever play it. Like I swear that on everything, that's the last time I will ever play it. So my cousin Liam. So we did this in his parents' bathroom, and he was on the bed. He was just like, whatever, because he was scared. He didn't want to pay attention to what was going on. And as I'm doing the ritual, spinning around 3 times. And of course, when you're spinning around, you get disoriented just a tiny bit. During this one, I don't think I flipped the light on, actually. I think I did that afterwards when I ran out, but I'll get to that. So as I'm spinning, I get to the 3rd one. I see Bloody Mary. I have my eyes closed because I'm a little bit too scared to open them. So I finally opened them, and I was like, okay, I don't want to see anything. So I quickly opened the door. And as I open the door, I see like the side profile of a person. I don't know if it was like my cousin. I don't know if it was something in particular, but yeah, it was pretty freaky.
So you open the door and somebody or something passes by the door. Is that what you're saying?
something passes in front of the mirror.
Oh, the mirror.
Like in a reflection, but not.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my.
So I don't know if it was a reflection of someone behind me, like my cousin.
Right.
But my cousin was on the bed because I screamed because I don't have a girly scream. It's embarrassing, but I have a dude like scream.
Right.
It's embarrassing. I go to like amusement parks, theme parks. It's embarrassing.
That's great. Wow.
But
yeah, I played that once or twice when we were kids, and it scared the crap out of me, man. I think I saw a guy riding a motorcycle or something coming out of the mirror, some crazy shit. But that's the thing about that game, man. It's like when you do that and you spin, and then you're looking into a mirror. Like even though you're in a dark room, sometimes you'll catch a little reflection or something, and your mind, especially as a young kid, you're just like, oh my God, what did we just see? It's the excitement of being in a room with your buddies when it's totally dark, and you're how kids get giddy about stuff like that. But I only played it once or twice. I remember just not ever wanting to do that again. It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ouija boards. Like we've talked before.
Yeah.
We don't. I think I might have picked one up one time, but it quickly washed over me that this is something that I shouldn't be doing. I should not be playing with this thing. We had a friend of ours that actually, was able to conjure something up, and it didn't go well.
Yeah. He had some kind of a spirit messing with him for quite a while. So.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff. Did you ever play Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board?
I played that when I was little one time.
Right.
But
that's a game that it seems like that's a game only little girls play. And it's something weird because that's one thing that I've noticed because little boys never played. We may have played Bloody Mary, but we never really did Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board.
Oh, girls' sleepovers are crazy. I can say that.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Right.
We get into rituals, all kinds of things.
Yeah. Little boys.
Blood oaths.
Yeah. Our sleepovers were we would watch horror movies in hopes of seeing a booby.
That's right. Yeah.
We would also throw football or small balls or footballs or basketballs at each other in a war type game and hiding behind forts and stuff like that. So yeah, we had those were a lot of fun.
That was fun. Being
kids,
Yeah.
But yeah, I never would I ever try to call up Bloody Mary because I was a scaredy kid. I had a really vivid imagination, and so I think that was just
too much to ask.
Just too much to to invoke of my own self,
right.
or anything else that's out there on the other side of the mirror. So.
Absolutely.
Definitely understand. I definitely won't be playing again. That's for sure. Sure, like me, like even growing up, I've always sought out things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what's attracted things to me, but I've always thought out like the strange and unknown. I've always loved that kind of stuff. Right,
that's cool. Well, you grew up in a good time period for it with the internet.
Oh yeah,
you get lost in the stories and
yes, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Stuff used to keep me up at night, like Slender Man, for example.
Right.
Yeah, that used to scare the living shit out of me.
Right.
Yeah. Well, people get really, really carried away and wild with their Slender Man stories. And I mean, and obviously, like, you have those two little girls to try to, sacrifice and kill their friend and offer it up to say the Slender Man. That's just
And one thing with that, what I'm wondering is, I know that a lot of people say that if you believe in something enough, in some way, it can take form.
Sure, we talked about that, just not about maybe that in particular thing, but how many things have the human mind conjured up that have become a reality? The internet, for instance. Satellites. travel in space. And it's odd. Because you don't know, obviously the universe is a massive, massive thing that we'll never get our head around. So you don't, like, outside of our realm of understanding the laws of physics and things like that, once you get outside of here, gloves are off. Anything could happen. But it is amazing that we can communicate in this sort of telepathic way or whatever. People call it spirituality, being connected with the earth, or, having a sense of their loved ones being on the other side, or, ghostly encounters or aliens. And, it gets real fuzzy because, what is my imagination could very well be reality somewhere, like dreaming. Some people think that you're, actually sort of living out, other realms of yourself, string theory and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty wild. And that's why when you have those experiences and those types of things happen to you, you can't discount them, because who's to say, who's to say?
Sure.
So, unless you just are the kind of person that are just turned off to everything, you know what I mean? You don't want to have those experiences. You don't really, you don't have the inclination to live your life in that way. And that's fine too. Obviously, we have a world of diverse people, and it should be so. But I think it's more interesting to live your life in an open manner and just say, okay, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the rules here.
Yeah. You can definitely put filters on your own perception by saying, well, this can't happen, that can't happen, because, I don't want to believe it. You can deny yourself out of any situation or any event or anything like that, and to you that it is real or unreal. But, that's also limits life, and it limits, experience. And you seem to be someone who is embracing experience and embracing life and embracing, these possibilities for these strange things to happen, because she's listeners, she's still very young. She's 19. And she's got some cool journeys coming up ahead of her. And that she was telling us about off air. And I have a feeling and I have a hope that you'll be back to share with us more weird experiences in the future.
Because I honestly think that it's only going to get weirder, because where you're traveling is very steeped in mysticism, and it is it's just a different culture, and that's wonderful, because the more that we can embrace each other and travel to people's lands and experience their lives the way that they live them, and not passing judgment, just as a voyeur, looking in and seeing what is going on there is an amazing thing, and it's something that not a lot of people get to do, and to be the odd man out in a foreign land is very humbling. I mean, you won't come back to this country and look at people that are over here the same way when they're the odd man out. It's powerful, and it's amazing that we can share these types of experiences with each other. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, and travel gives you experience, and it gives you perspective, and it gives you knowledge, and it's really cool. So. We wish you all the luck with that stuff. So. Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Those were great stories. Loved them. Wow.
And you if you ever have other stuff that happens, or you want to talk about some other stuff, we're here all the time. Yep. Open door. Come back anytime you want.
Yeah, and I love what you guys do too, because when I tell these stories to my friends, to my family, it's sort of like a oh wow, are you sure it could have been this?
Right.
You guys actually take what I say into account and have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Whereas people are usually kind of turned off by what I've experienced.
Right.
Well, and that's understandable because they know you. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like being in a rock band in your hometown where everybody knows who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know too much about you. You're not a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not going to take your stories as, something maybe credible or whatever. But we've heard here on this podcast so many interesting stories from people that I just anymore we have enough sort of back catalog to where we can kind of contrast and compare some of these things and so we're like, oh wow, well that was kind of like that story, so interesting because I've heard that before, you know what I mean? So what does that mean? And it's cool because we have this sort of thing now where we can draw upon our past experiences with these stories, and we don't pass judgment on anyone because the way I see it is it's your experience, and you're sitting here telling us that this is what you experienced. I mean, I'm taking it for what you're telling me,
Yeah.
What you have nothing to gain out of this.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Fame and fortune.
Right. Yeah, right.
Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for
Thanks
coming
for putting up
on.
with me.
And share.
I see, when I tell stories, I'm really good at putting it down on paper. I'm just not good at telling stories verbally. I don't know if that has to do with my ADHD, but
keep telling them.
I'm really good at.
Oh, you're good. Keep telling them.
Good. Yeah,
All
just
right.
keep telling them. That's how you get better. That's how you remember things, and how you can put a good order to them. I tend to wander off on tangents as well, but it's part of my charm, I think. But just keep telling your stories to people, because when you tell your stories, you'll find other people will share their stories too, or somebody else's they know stories or something story. They'll open up, and just it's communication, and it's that face-to-face stuff. That's why we do it over Skype, so we can see each other and we can make that human connection.
Yep.
It's not just your voice. It's the face.
Yep.
It's the I can read your face and be like, well, and you can read us going like, oh, eyes bugging out and everything. So
right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Bethany.
Great.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking your time, and we'll let you get back to your life. All right.
All right.
Hey, that's a nice T-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story T-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies because, they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's two different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story, currently there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of our shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors.
Well, Bethany, thank you for coming on and sharing those stories. Good stuff.
Yeah, man. I've heard of the rake, but I've never heard anybody that has seen one or anything like that. And man, those things are freaky.
They are freaky. Yeah. One of the scary looking creatures.
Yeah, they're very, very bizarre. And it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like, it's just weird. You look it up, find some artist interpretation. Yes. If maybe I'll have time to doodle up an interpretation.
It's one of the beings from your nightmares for sure.
It really is nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Big time.
I mean, it's really strange.
Big time.
So yeah, so hopefully that's another one of those things that I just won't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll be perfectly happy with.
Definitely.
So, I wonder if it's the same thing that her parents heard.
Right.
You know, whenever they were talking about what her parents heard.
Right.
And so yeah, it sounds like she's living in a really like that little pocket of the world is. There's some craziness and there's I guess the veil is thin, as they say.
Yes.
You know, with the lady, the lady sounds like that she was a ghost that she saw down there.
Yes. Yeah. She sees the lady in the woods with the dress, and yeah, I think that she probably is a person that has those abilities that most people don't have. Again, these stories are just I have such a hard time with like, oh man, putting myself in that position. I don't know how I'd react really, you know? Yeah.
And like, you know, I mean, well, even the story about finding, you know, the hobo out there or whatever, you know, I don't think that hobo is a
politically correct
offensive word. Or incorrect, rather. Yeah, but I don't. You know,
we're sorry. I don't think we're sorry to the hobo population if that's a sensitive subject.
Yeah, if that isn't that we try not to be offensive to anybody here. That was a weird situation. That could have been a really bad situation, and she was very smart to get out of it before figuring out, you know, what it was. It could have been a freaking serial killer now.
I think
you never know.
Yeah, that was the smart move. That was definitely the smart move. You don't want to push that luck.
But to me, dude, the rake was scary. Yeah. But the scariest thing was whatever it was that was going when she was a little kid that was going through her little special things drawer. Right. You know, her little, I don't know if it's
that's freaky.
Something like that, but that was very, very bizarre.
That is bizarre. That is bizarre. Man, I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, you know, the whole, you know, don't sleep with your feet dangling off the bed, or, you know, a wrist, a hand, any of that stuff. And even though I knew that it was just stupid, dumb BS, I would still like tuck my feet in and like, you know, just in case.
Look, I don't think as a kid, I don't think you had anything to worry about any kind of monster attacking your feet, because you used to wear socks until they had I mean, like not just till they were, you know, they were stiff, but they were they had holes. Your socks had so many holes, and it's not like your parents couldn't afford to buy you new socks. Barry was just wearing his socks until they
isn't it, man?
There was nothing left, and I just marveled at them, and not like marveled in like, wow, that's really spectacular. I guess that marvel is not the exact word. Horrified by your stinky feet.
I never knew that you had a thing for my freaking holy socks, man.
Well, it's not that I had a thing. It's just I certainly observed them and was, you know, just more mortified. Just
that's hilarious.
How can, someone do this? That's only hilarious. Holy socks are only cartoons, and, you know, orphans or something.
Yeah.
And you know, Victorian orphans and Oliver Twist.
For sure. Yeah, I was definitely, I was definitely not into pedicures and of the like.
But anyway, hey, Bethany, thanks for coming on. we're all over the place today.
It's okay.
And you know, and Bethany's going to be all over the place. She's got a lot of traveling coming up in her future. She's going to Bali and. So, well, hopefully, you know, coronavirus, she might not.
No kidding.
So, it's all your fault now, Barry. But,
I know. I breathed it into existence.
But hey, you know, Bethany, thank you for being on, and thank you for sharing your stories. And we wish you the best of luck in all your travels. And you are definitely going to have to come back on and share the stories that you have.
That's right.
Your experiences, because man, that's just, those things are just bound to happen.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of other things that are bound to happen, we're still working on Spinjamorama. We're still working on putting the finishing touches on the first episode.
Yeah, we have recorded, and now we're polishing and we're getting it ready for you guys. And we have a standard level of that we expect of quality from our own selves. You know, we want to put out something that's good and sounds good, and you know, even though we tend to ramble sometimes as part of our charm, but yeah, we want to make sure that this is something that's, you know, up to par.
Right, it's going to jive.
And so we've got to tweak a few things, and still figuring out the formula on how we're going to be doing things, which will be changing over time.
Yeah.
So each episode could be completely radically different from the one before.
Yep.
So
it'll find its way.
Yeah. It'll find its way, and it'll find its way to your ear holes, and it will be coming right through this channel as normal. It'll just be like a special bonus type episode, and we will announce it. Or not, it might just drop. You never know. But keep checking your news feed and subscribe to us and all those things that we do on our social media and our, wherever you listen to podcasts. Do go and leave us some ratings if you can. That helps us set out. Please leave us some feedback on iTunes or wherever. We like hearing from you guys. We don't hear enough. We'd like to hear more. You come on and you can make that hotline bling. You can call us and at our number, which is the hotline. It's 513-909-9821. And you can leave us a message there. You can tell us how we're doing. You can tell us a story. You can sing us a song. Barry, do you remember there was a time that I had for my answering machine where I would tell people that, I would be like, I'm not here, but you leave me a message. And if you leave it in the form of a song, you get extra bonus points.
Yeah, I think I do, man. Yeah, I do.
Because
did I ever leave you one?
Yeah, because yes, you did. You did at least one. Because I think I got it on tape somewhere.
Great.
It's a very Elvis inspired theme. But,
that's awesome.
But yeah, so you do that. Leave us a ditty or whatever, and you can record up to like 3 minutes. So,
sweet.
So yeah, so call us, and we just like hearing from you guys. We like talking to you guys.
Yes.
So definitely come on,
please
join us and tell us some stories. We're gonna leave now. Thanks for listening once again. Who do we got next week? Oh, see you next week with the clowns from India.
Oh yeah,
they're not from India, but there are clowns who have been over from Cutthroat Freak Show. They're coming back on, and they're going to share some stories about them literally clowning around in India. And I
mean, it can't get any weirder than that, can it? Clowning around in India.
Like yeah. So they got some cool stories, some crazy stories, and a lot of cool little events, and just fun events, and just wild things that you just being, traveling alone gives you some great stories, but traveling alone and just as a clown or aside, and that's a whole new world.
Yeah, so, you're looking at a different side of life.
Yeah. So yeah, join us next week for our clown friends, Jeremy and Scarlett. And in the meantime, be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The stories presented on the What's Your Weird Story podcast are, to our knowledge, true experiences that our guests have had. We can't take the time to